impossible to ignore. It is what we make it.
And so a new American industry has been born. Sensation Station Network.
Good morning and welcome to the Live Exchange, where we exchange compelling dialogue around love, the politics, and intellect every Thursday from 11 to 1. I am Dr. Pamela, and today we are discussing domestic violence against men and women. Yes, this is a tragic reality that happens to both, so we're going to be looking at the perspectives of both today. We think it's funny or empowering or well within her rights when we witness a dramatic movie scene when a woman passionately slaps her cheating husband or boyfriend across the face. We clap for her, we cheer for her, we say, "You go girl, you do your thing." But what happens when the reverse happens? When a man slaps a woman across the face? Well, it's usually presented in the context of an abuse scene. She falls to the floor, and in the scene that follows, her black eye compels us to despise the man who laid hands on her. Why the discrepancy? When we think about domestic violence, do we ever consider a man's experience? It takes a mind shift because as a society, we've been conditioned to believe that men cannot be abused or raped or victimized by women. The reality is both men and women experience abuse, and that we have to address that as a community. We have to be willing to look at that as a community. These sets of stories both have to be honored, they have to be acknowledged, they have to be told. So today's guests are here to discuss issues of domestic violence from both a male and a female perspective. We have advocate, expert, and owner of Fostering Hearts, which is a vision for a transition home for survivors and victims of domestic violence. We have Paula Foster, and she's here to share her personal story and to give us some insight about how to dismantle domestic violence. And we're also going to have Darrin Bell. He's a retired sheriff officer, and he's here to give us a little insight about what he's seen from a law enforcement standpoint. And as always, we've got some trending topics, we've got research, we've got my weekly balance challenge, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back on the Live Exchange.
And so a new American industry has been born. Sensation Station Network.
Great leaders aren't born, they're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He guides us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
I am an American soldier.
I'm a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always place this first.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. I am disciplined.
I am disciplined.
Physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I always maintain my arms, my women, and myself.
I am an expert and I am a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American
soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
There's strong, and there's Army strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
Adopt US Kids presents multiple choice parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No, sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
I hate religion. Pretty shocking to hear coming from a pastor, huh? I'm Jasper. This is my wife, Alicia Williams. We would absolutely love to have you come and take a visit.
At the church, we're strictly about relationships. It's about deepening your walk with God. 4845 South Old Peachtree Road, Norcross, Georgia.
Or you can hit us online at www.thechurchinfo.org. Remember, at the church, it's about relationship, not religion.
George, y'all need anything else?
Sensation Station Network.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. Today we are discussing domestic violence against men and women. We were looking at why, why women and men, why both of us? Well, because believe it or not, it happens to all of us, and I want to be sure that we understand the profound effect that it has on both male and female victims. So, when it happens to women, we get angry and we empathize, and then when it happens to men, we laugh and we call them a punk. So, we're going to be talking a little bit about why that might be, what the signs are, what it looks like from a male and a female perspective. But first, I want to introduce my guests. First, here to my left, I have advocate, expert, and owner of Fostering Hearts, Paula Foster, and she's here to share her personal story, but to also give us some insight about how the work that she does and how to dismantle domestic violence. She's going to tell us how to fix it all, heal it all. No. She's got all the answers now. And then to my right, we have Darrin Bell, a retired sheriff officer, who is here to give us a little insight about what he's seen from a law enforcement standpoint, and I'm sure impart some of his opinion and points of view on all of this. So welcome, both of you. Would you mind, each of you, maybe just giving us a little bit about what you do and what you have done, in the work with regards to this particular issue?
Well, this is Paula, and basically right now what we're doing is we're there to educate, empower, and do our best to equip not only women but men with the tools that they need in order to either not go into a situation of domestic violence, or if they found themselves in that situation, to do our best to help them get out of it.
Okay. And is it primarily focused on victims, or are there things that are done for those who are perpetrators of violence?
Well, we just deal with victims.
Okay.
And we we prefer to also reach back to our youth, because if we can catch them early, then we won't have such the high numbers and things once they get older.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Get in there early. And Darrin.
Darrin Bell.
Hello.
22-year Sheriff's Department. I spent maybe 6 or 7 years as a domestic violence supervisor. We did mostly TPOs and made sure that the victims were well and the accusers went through certain programs.
Okay. So both of you have quite a bit of experience and have seen some things, I'm sure.
Yes.
That you'll be able to speak to. And so why is it, and I'll just ask you this from the beginning, why is there a difference between the way that it's seen, perceived from women to men? What have you all seen in that?
For me, it's more so women are quicker to speak up. and they're, I would say, quicker in the sense of men can go through it, but they won't really sometimes realize that they're going through it. So they can be experiencing the verbal abuse, they can be experiencing the isolation, they can be experiencing the hits, but even as young boys, they're told, you don't hit a woman. But how often do we tell them, if a woman hits you, this is how you handle that.
Right.
But it's drilled in them, don't hit a female, don't hit a female. But it's like, okay, so what do I do if she hits me? Oh, just walk away.
Yeah, that is what they're told, yeah.
It's a catch-22 for them, so they don't really look at it sometimes as domestic violence until they are actually maybe put in front of somebody that gives them, okay, this is what it looks like, and it's not just for women. Men can experience it too.
Right.
But women are, we're quick. If a man hits you, you need to call, you need to run, you need to tell. Even though they're not as quick as we want them to be, they're still quicker than men, if that makes sense.
Right.
So, and that's pretty much where the divide comes in, is how it's instilled in them as kids on how to handle it from each gender.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Any additional thoughts?
Well,
I can jump in.
It's also part of the whole alpha male theory, and especially with black men, they're just taught not to call the cops. So even when they go through it, they don't know what to do because they've been conditioned. Not that, I mean, if you complain about a woman hitting you, then you're soft. If you call the cops, then that most of them believe the cops are going to arrest them, because that's what's going to happen most of the time. Because most cops are men, we're overprotective of women.
Interesting.
And like when you called me, I went to a call once, and the call was about a man beating a woman. When I got there, I was prepared to lock him up because he clearly had hit her. And she said, "I'm gonna hit you again." I said, "What did it start off?" She said, "Because she hit him with a frying pan, but that don't mean he could hit her back, because he had a knot on his head." And he's like, I said, "What happened?" He was like, "We just got into it, And she said, "I hit him first."
Oh wow.
But he shouldn't have did nothing. And when I got ready to lock her up, he was like, "No, don't lock her up." And I was like, "Well, one of y'all got to go."
Right.
That's the law. The law says I can't come in and just walk away.
Oh, wow.
I can lock both y'all up, but I can't just lock you up, because she's clearly said that she was the aggressor now. And that's what the law states. The aggressor is the one who goes to jail.
Wow.
He didn't want her to go. She wanted him to go, and there's just, how do you get around that?
So what happened? How did you handle that?
Well, I mean, I was going to take her, period, because she admitted that she hit him with the frying pan, which is, and, he actually cried and said, "Please don't do it. I don't want her to go to jail." And I was like, well, I really don't have a lot of choices. This is the system. So,
Wow. Who called?
She called.
She called.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, and that's just so interesting, because, we hear now the whole frying pan thing, the Medea grits, all
that's
of
what
that
I was
stuff.
just thinking about, yeah.
And so we are encouraged, really, to do that. We are encouraged to, if your man, messes up, cheats on you, abuses you, you throw grits on him. Now, of course, self-defense is self-defense. That's a totally different thing. But when we glorify it and we turn it into entertainment, I think it gives our society a whole different view of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in terms of aggression.
Right.
Right, because then you minimize it. And like I said, guys just don't know what to do. I can tell you stories about guys who've been abused all the time. They don't know what to do, because, like I said, you're not supposed to be one to call the cops. You're supposed to walk away. And even when I tell cops, I tell women, you should never hit a man, first of all. But don't get me wrong, I'm a black man. We've been trained. If a woman hits you from in your chest, you're supposed to be able to take those and walk away. And I tell you, when you can't hit a man you can't hit a man in his neck or above and think he's just gonna walk away. That's not his natural response. If you hit a man below his belly button, his natural responses will kick in.
Yeah.
And that's just fighting unfair, if there's a such thing. But we train for you to get mad at us and punch us in the chest. We're supposed to be able to handle those. And it's still domestic violence, but you can't beat the way we've been systematically trained to accept certain things.
Wow. That's okay. Well, I have to move into trending topics. So when we get out of trending topics, we're going to revisit this.
Primary election.
Lacking diversity. Gas prices.
Michael Black's trending topics.
So this story is one that is very interesting. It's kind of related to violence. It's not necessarily domestic. But I would love to hear what each of you think about this. I've spoken about this in my classes. I teach higher education, and so we've talked about when higher education goes virtual and what happens in virtual classrooms. Well, in this case, Jordan Bellemeyer, she has been sexually assaulted 3 times. And she says twice in real life and 1 in virtual reality.
Okay.
So she goes by a pseudonym to protect her privacy, but she was playing a game with her brother-in-law, and she was shooting zombies with strangers, and another player began to virtually rub her chest. And she says, I've been groped, quote, I've been groped in real life, once in a Starbucks in broad daylight, and I know what it's like to happen in person. The shock and disgust I felt in the video game was actually not too far from that. So another user apparently caught on during the game that she was a woman because her mic was on and her voice was streaming through the virtual world. And she actually yelled stop as the other player grabbed her, and that only made things worse. She said he chased me around, making grabbing and pinching motions near my chest. Emboldened, he even shoved his hand toward my virtual crotch and began rubbing. And her post has caught a lot of attention, and, obviously, if you can only imagine how social media works, you've got strong opinions on both sides. So, some people are like, it's not real, it's not really happening, so it's okay.
Right.
You guys need to get over it. Other women have described similar experiences in the virtual world. One woman wrote that I was still tensed up, so, about her experience being groped virtually last March. I was still tensed up and I felt uncomfortable, and removing the headset didn't make that feeling go away. So, although it's acknowledged that sexual assault in the virtual world isn't exactly the same as in real life, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have an effect. And there's growing numbers of studies that are going into the psychological effect of virtual sexual assault. And while nobody wants to see the government regulate the game industry, there are things that need to be put into place to kind of find out, or to reduce it. So now, some gamers have, game producers have added features that will allow people to alert if there's some kind of sexual assault happening. It'll make the players have to remain a certain amount of feet away from each other. And the owner of the game that she's talking about did say that he is in the process of working on it. He says they responded saying, let's make sure this never happens again, and they are updating their game to find ways to prevent this. So we're going to go to a break, but when we come back, I would love to hear your thoughts, each of you, on this whole idea of virtual harassment.
Deliberate dumbing down society. Deliberate dumbing down of America. Dumbing down public. Why would they do this?
Sensation Station Network. Radio, not dumbed down.
Great leaders aren't born, they're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, and father of 5. I'm also an expert on drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids, and there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
What's up, sis?
Nothing. Just sitting here reading about HIV in Atlanta and its surrounding areas. Did you know we're number 8 in the nation?
I know.
You need to get tested.
Nah, I don't get down like that. I'm good.
But you are a ladies' man. You don't know who they're with when they're not with you.
If I need to get tested, so do you.
No, I don't. I'm married.
True, but you don't know who he's with when he's not with you.
Oh, you got jokes. He's not like that.
Fact is, no one really knows what their partner is doing or who their partner is with when they're away.
Well, I'll get tested if you get tested.
Cool. Where can we go?
This article I'm reading says the Lifeline Project of CSB does free HIV testing. Let's go there.
Lifeline Project, here we come.
The Lifeline Project is a SAMHSA grant. For more information on free testing, please call 770-499-2422 or visit us on the web at www.cobcsb.com.
And so a new American industry has been born. Sensation Station Network.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we're talking about domestic violence, but the trending topic we just looked at dealt with virtual harassment. And I'm really, after hearing that story about a woman who had been basically groped and sexually assaulted on a video game, what are your thoughts about that?
I think it's crazy. Like, it's bad enough that she's been groped in person, but now to be playing a game just trying to enjoy her free time and you're being groped virtually, like, people, is it that serious?
Right,
like,
are you safe? Yeah.
Well, yeah, where can you be safe if you can't be in the comfort of your home just playing a video game, relaxing? Then what are we coming to now? Like, it makes no sense to me.
Well, there's a lot of people who say, you know what, it was a video game, she needs to chill out, get over it, she's tripping, she's overreacting.
No, she's not. She's not. Because even though it's virtual, for somebody that's been through it in the natural, all it brings up all those memories of when she was in the Starbucks and somebody groped her or anything, and it could make her fear because we don't know what perv is sitting behind that computer that could find out where she is.
And does he know who she is for real or not?
Exactly. So I don't think she's being too extreme, but I think she is reacting in the manner that she should react. So
yeah.
I think to me it's extreme because first I guess you do have to look at the gamers, but the next thing you'll get into, even with the games that are out now, if we play the war games, if the same player keeps to me is kind of crazy. But I have played the games where somebody keeps shooting you over and over and over again. And next you'll get into cyberbullying. To me that's a little extreme. Just cut the game off, you're free.
So she doesn't have a right to play the game because somebody else
change her settings and she's got to play herself and not go virtual. I mean, you can't go somewhere. You can't go to a bar and complain that the drinks are too strong. Go to another bar.
But you can go to a bar and complain that somebody's groping you.
Right. And you can, but that's in real.
I mean, what if the bar owner said,
that's in real
go to
life.
another bar?
Because what's the crime right now for groping online?
Well, that's the reason why it's being brought to attention, so that something can be done, so that legislation can follow.
Right. And then you're going to get into all the other games. All the other games going to be regulated. And then if you play Madden, if you're beating somebody by more than 15 points, you're bullying them because you're... and that's the thing. How much do we want to regulate things that don't even exist really? Because, I mean, what if you have a dream somebody did? Now what are you going to do? Somebody was in your dream? To me, it's almost the same thing. You're trying to regulate too much that you got control over. If you have a dream that I broke into your house, can I be locked up for that?
Well, no, it's a dream.
Which is what cyber world is. It's a dream.
No, there's actually somebody on the other side of that exercising aggression towards you.
Right.
That's a different than
and
you just
get to cut the
dream.
power off. You get to switch games. You get to buy a whole nother game. That's something you got 100% control over. It's cyber. I mean, I'm trying to feel what you're saying, but it's cyber.
It's cyber, but our cyber worlds and our real worlds are really coming into
it. Yeah, sometimes they're right there. Because, like we said, how do we know that that person hasn't tapped into her home system and can actually come to her home and do something to her? So it's I kind of understand what you're saying, but at the same token, we have too much access. Like, people are tapping into people's computers, finding locations. So who's to say he won't show up at her house? Or like Dr. Pam said, how do we know that he doesn't know her? and he's just waiting for the right opportunity to just come in and do it for real.
And if he does do that, and I don't know what law enforcement would say, but if he does break into her house and and she tries to, or she has some fear, is it going to be, well, you never said anything before, you didn't, you knew that this was happening on the game and yet you never said anything? Doesn't that help to create a trail of evidence if she does say something prior to anything actually happening?
Look at how much trouble the feds had with getting iPhone to let them into their information. You think gamers are going to start letting the police in to see all the stuff?
No, but to document the experience that she had.
She going to say it's happened, but can she go back and show it in the game? The gamer's not going to give her that, because that means they got to start giving her IP addresses, and it's the whole privacy right that the iPhone people are fighting. We don't want to give up that information. So if she says something happened online, how does she prove it unless she's sitting there videoing her own experience? Because when they go back, the gamer's not going to give up that. I mean, they fight hard for their privacy right, not have to give you information on other people. So how does she prove that it happened?
How would she prove that it happened in Starbucks?
Starbucks has cameras.
What if Starbucks doesn't have cameras? What if she's in a place where there are no cameras? Does there have to be actual evidence?
Then yeah, because you just saying it, the court's going to say you got to have some kind of proof. Even when we do domestic violence stuff, she can say I called and did something. The judge is going to ask her to prove all of this, because in the law I'm still innocent till proven guilty. Her just saying I did it without any corroborating evidence, I'm going to walk away from it. So the same thing happened in cyber. If there's no corroborating evidence, we're going to go right back to square one.
Well, there are ways of recording what happens on the video screen.
Right, that's what I'm saying. She's going to have to sit around and record the whole thing.
Sucks. I mean, if you're terrorized by something and all they say is, well, just unplug the game, that to me feeds into the culture of sexual assault and disregard that we already have in this country. And since we have to go to commercial, I get the last word on this. We'll be right back.
This is what legends are made of. This is what legends are made of.
As long as I see that fire in your eyes, I know we still good.
I do it off of that love.
We built this family, and this family's strong.
On Fox.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Uncle Dan? Mom? Dad? If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them, I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
Safer when my friends come over. As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
We'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
If you're looking for that ratchet, you're in the wrong place. It's the nation's urban internet station, Sensation Station Network. In the interest of science.
Welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and just to give you a little bit of science and research, because you know I love my research, we are looking at this model that's called the choice supportive bias theory. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's very common. It's something that I see commonly, so I thought it was really appropriate to address it for this particular show. But the choice supportive bias theory basically says that when we recall a past decision, when we decide, why did I decide to do that, or why was I okay with that, we distort the memories to make the choices that we made appear to be the best that could have been made. So we literally only focus on the positive aspects of why we made the decisions that we make. So, for example, if you were wondering, why did I get into this abusive relationship? Right. You start to recall all of the positive things. Well, he was really sweet, or, he always, when we made up, everything was always great. We had the best trips ever. He's a really good person. He's just going through some things, and I believe in whatever the future brings. And so that's choice supportive bias theory. It's just that whole idea that you're going to look at the positive aspects to justify a decision that you made, even if it wasn't necessarily a bad decision. But this is one of the reasons why people can so easily justify why they did what they did. And it's because none of us wants to look back and just naturally say, no, I just made a really crappy decision. Right. This person does this, and that to me, and yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, nobody wants to sit with that. Yeah. That's what therapy's for. Right. But naturally, we don't tend to do that. We tend to more naturally try to find the positive reasons and aspects of why we did what we did. What do you all think of that? Is that something that you've seen? Does that resonate at all with your experience?
Well, as a survivor, I can tell you now, I did that a lot. And anytime somebody initially would say something, I'd be like, well, outside of the abuse, he's a really nice guy. He has a very nice sense of humor. He's funny. We have the best of times. It's only when he hits me that, Yeah. So I can totally agree with that, because many times, like you said, we reflect on the good. And so, yeah, I totally can see that happening.
So what do you think can get somebody out of that mindset when they are making all they want to recall are the positive reasons for making such decisions? How do you get out of that mindset?
It's going to take a mind shift. And a lot of times we don't want to recall the bad. I was just having a conversation this morning, and I said a lot of times when the bad things happen, our brain automatically, it's not like that it erases them, but it goes so far back that it's almost like we black out during the bad times. So it's easier to recall the good times sometimes, but when you actually sit and have that self-reflection and things like that and get deep, then you say, oh yeah, he was bad, or this situation happened. So it takes some alone time to really want to make that change and dig deep within yourself, because as long as we're just scratching the surface, or we just look at all the happy moments. Right. But nobody really wants to dig deep and deal with the hurt, the pain, the embarrassment, the shame that comes with a lot of the decisions that we make sometimes.
Yeah, that's hard. And not only, he was a bad person, but I was also not a healthy person. I wasn't whole, and having to look at those aspects of yourself that can prevent you from making similar decisions, because if you don't realize what it was about yourself that allowed it, then it's going to be really difficult to make sure you don't do it again.
Yeah. Until you, like I said, it's a whole mindset change. Until you see somebody doing something different, you really don't know a lot. And sometimes it's not even they reflect on the good times and disregard the bad. Remember before I told you, I dated a girl who told me if I didn't hit her, I must not love her. There's a bunch of women who still have that mindset because they grew up with domestic violence was the norm, and they didn't know it was domestic violence. Right. They thought it was love. Wow. So you got to deal with two separate factors when you go to a call. Is this normal for her, or is she blocking out the bad times? Because now you don't. If you attack the wrong one, you feed into whatever it is she wants. So, and you have to look at what is it? What is her norm? Is her norm seeing this happen and she's okay with it? And in my experience, some women, I learned about the cycle of violence, which most guys don't know about, especially cops. The cycle of violence is real. Some women live for their honeymoon period. When the makeup comes, it's the greatest thing ever. She's getting gifts, she's getting trips. So she's willing to put up with the other four factors just to go through their honeymoon phase again. Because their honeymoon phase, from what they say, is just totally unbelievable. And like I said, she's a survivor. She can tell you, when guys trying to make up, they send the flowers, they buying you diamonds, they doing that. Will cancel out a lot if that's the mindset you're in at that time. So it's figuring out which one to combat.
I'm curious to know how that conversation went when you were told you must not love me, if you're not hitting me. How did that?
Because I'm a Southern gentleman, and I was taught that you never hit a woman. I mean, I got stabbed by a woman and I panicked to hit her. But so when this one was like, you don't love, and I actually was in love, and she's like, you never hit me, so you must not love me. And I was just thinking to myself, wow. let me come back on that one. And I came back, you know what, you're right. I just don't love you like you want me to love you. And that's something you have to, everybody wants to be loved a different way, and the way she wants to be loved was not conducive to what I knew. So only thing I do was let her go, because I wasn't going to change who I was. Right. And I didn't know other women who could tell her, hey, that's not normal, because, you know, it's like, who discusses this out loud? Right. Yeah. So, you know, it's a mindset.
Wow. And it's funny that he said that, because, you know, a lot of times growing up, our parents tell us, I'm spanking you because I love you. So that mindset, it starts young, and so I can totally see that happening, where if you don't love me if you don't hit me, because the parents always say, I'm spanking you because I love you. If I don't spank you, then maybe I don't. So yeah, that whole mindset, that's something.
Oh, I've never made that connection before.
Well, and it's like now we tell men, you know, if you can help it, don't whoop your daughters, because we don't even want them to get used to the fact of a man putting your hands on them and relating that to love or nurturing.
That's so interesting. I had the exact same thought about my daughter this week, you know, and I don't, because her father doesn't, you know, and I'm thinking, that's good, because I don't want her to be used to that idea. Right. But we're going to, when we come back, we're going to look at what domestic violence actually looks like. So stay with us.
JBT 700 Miami Circle 30324. It's not a chain, it's a chain reaction.
Invest $49 a month at a real gym.
For more info, go to facebook.com/Jeans Body Tech.
Great leaders aren't born, they're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He guides us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No, sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, it's spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have...
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Uncle Dan? Mom? Dad? If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them.
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
Safer when my friends come over. As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
We'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Harold Dennis, and I'm running for the office of DeKalb County Sheriff. I believe that there is a brighter future for DeKalb County, and as your sheriff, I will take a tough stance against those who choose to violate our laws and remain actively involved in building a rapport with our youth, which will combat the increasingly violent crimes committed by their peers. This will increase the value of our community in which I was proudly born and raised, allow me the opportunity to continue my philosophy of public service and building a sound and responsive sheriff's office. Harold Dennis. Vote for me November 8th for DeKalb County Sheriff. And let's take DeKalb back. I'm Harold Dennis, and I approve this message.
And so a new American industry has been born. Sensation Station Network.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we are talking about domestic violence and against men and women. And I have two people here with me, Paula Foster and Darrin Bell, who are helping to give some really great insight. I think our conversations during the break might be better than what's going on right here, so I have to make sure I bring it to light on the air. But there are some things that some characteristics that I just wanted to point out, that you don't have to be, or that somebody doesn't have to be physically abusive to be an abuser, and I'm sure we're all aware of that, but just as a reminder, and for anybody who's listening, who thinks that you may be possibly in this situation, or somebody who may be an aggressor in this situation, really pay close attention, because it's really easy to just say, you know what, yeah, domestic violence, that's not really me, or we get a little heated at times, but it's not that, right. So it's important to really pay attention to what it really is and what it isn't. My rule of thumb is if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. Although, according to what Darrin just told us during the break, your mind might not even be well enough to know what's right and what's not right, what doesn't feel right and what does feel right. And so you're going to have to share that story. But so the abuse can be emotional, verbal, and sexual. And we've also on other shows pointed out, even financial, where you're holding it over somebody's head, that if they don't do something. So it's really that element of control, and control in any way that you're able to exert that control. Right. And it can come out in the form of physical violence, but it can come out in a lot of different ways. Effects that domestic abuse has on both men and women: self-blame. So you think that maybe there was something that you did to cause it. Physical sign and symptoms, and that's probably the most obvious one. Shame, low self-esteem, and lack of confidence. And that's actually the other theory that we're going to be talking about a little later. There's actually a theory around self-esteem. Okay. Anger, fear, isolation from others, fear of being dismissed by others. So you tell somebody, and maybe they're on the side of the other person, the abuser, or people think that you're just a drama queen or drama king or whatever. Self-regulation and hyper-vigilance. So you're making sure you're walking on eggshells. You're making sure everything you do is okay, and that it doesn't trigger anything. Right. And then avoiding social situations, because people want to ask questions. How are you guys doing? Mm-hmm. What is that on your face? So avoiding social situations altogether. Thoughts? And I definitely want you to share your story. It's not your story.
It's not my story.
Let's be clear. Okay, he didn't do this.
Oh, I didn't get beat up.
And he did not tie a woman to. Go ahead, tell the story.
When I was doing domestic violence, I got a TPO, and I went to interview this woman, and she was telling me everything that happened. Her order said that it tells you the list of things that have happened, and she said she had got stabbed in the shower before. But that wasn't why she was there. She was there because he got mad and tied her to a railroad track. She said that's when she became afraid. And I was like, so when he stabbed, she's like, no, the stabbing was okay. We've done things like that before.
Gosh.
I was like, Okay, see, that was out of my league. How do you get stabbed and you're okay with that? But
right.
being tied to a railroad track really scares you. I mean, I would have been scared of both of them, but
I would have been scared of him screaming at me. Like, all you have to do is yell at me, and I'm like,
it's a wrap.
whoa, yeah.
But that was part of their love-hate relationship. And I guess, in that stage, you call it the fire of the excitement, because it's always something, and some people love drama. So I still don't get the whole being stabbed, being okay with it thing, but the way she was at it, that's like, yeah, that's what we do, and that's how we show our love. But the time to the railroad track was too much.
My goodness.
I want him out. I was like, wow, okay. Well, he's got to go, but she didn't want to press charges for the stabbing. She says, no, I'm good with the stabbing. I was like, okay.
Wow. So how, okay, did he untie her? How did she get off of?
Oh, he untied her. She just got scared when he did it. That's when she's like, okay, it's not fun anymore.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, he eventually went to jail because he did admit to the stabbing, which is still illegal. Whether you like being stabbed or not, it's illegal to stab somebody. So he actually went to jail for the stabbing once she said it in court.
So one of the things that concerns me, and it's what you were expressing, is when, because I said, as soon as I said it, I had to catch myself, but I said, if it doesn't feel right, then it's probably not right. But if you have somebody who thinks that getting stabbed is okay, then what is your barometer then to determine whether or not something is right or not right?
Right.
And so what do you think? I mean, if somebody is that far gone, how do you bring them back, or how do they bring themselves back? How do you get them to see it is not okay to be stabbed? It is not okay for somebody to punch you or, shove you, or, how do you get that message across?
Well, how do we? I mean, look at what, and I hate these shows, but look at some of the reality shows, some of the stuff they do. You see them fighting all the time. So some of these women actually think that's the norm because it's on TV. Mm-hmm. It's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to fight. We're supposed to throw stuff at each other. It's okay if my husband, boyfriend, whoever, this dude hits me. And that's what they grasp, that reality TV is real life, not knowing these people are still acting, they get paid for this, right. But they accept this as the norm, and then if they come from an abusive relationship or an abusive past, they accept these things, they're all normal. People that don't fight, well, y'all can't be having fun. Y'all never fighting. Y'all always looking happy. What fun is that?
And it can't be real.
They know. That's their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Or y'all just acting. Y'all acting. Nobody's that happy all the time.
Right. That can't be real. That's not.
So,
yeah. Well, so just to give you some statistics on violence, on average, 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in the United States. Mm-hmm. More than 12 million women and men over the course of a year. So 24 people per minute.
Yeah,
that's staggering, and it's probably more than that. I mean, we only know what's been reported.
What's reported, right?
So nearly 3 in 10 women and 1 in 10 men in the U.S. have experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking by a partner, and report a related impact on their functioning. Again, I have to reiterate that with these statistics, there's only a certain amount that's actually reported. And what happens, from a law enforcement standpoint, when somebody comes in to report this and then they change their minds, does that get documented, or is it just kind of wiped free?
Well, in the state of Georgia, once you report it, the state don't even care what you do after that. Once it's on paper, it's ours.
Really?
You can't take it back. You can't take it back. The state can take over the whole case. And that was one of the things when it first started, because you had women who were false reporting. They get a guy locked up or whatever, so the state was like, we're going to take over these cases. If it's found that you're lying, we'll lock you up. And if you're, but we're not going to sit around and not do anything. Something happened. Whether you're telling the truth or whether you're lying, somebody's got to pay for this if we're going to dispatch all these things. So here, like you see the thing with Josh Brown now, see if that was here, he would have had to go to jail. There's no...
Who is this? Who?
Josh Brown, the NFL punter that wrote the letter, said he's been abusing his wife for years.
Yeah.
And,
yes.
And they trying to figure out what to do with him, and they was like, well, the DA's office ain't going to prosecute him. We'll see, that won't happen here. I mean, you wrote that letter.
Right.
You're going to get prosecuted. And that letter's going to... They ain't going to talk about that. Here's your letter where you said you did all this. So come sit with us for a little while.
Wow. And what was, I did hear about that, and I'm kind of thinking, gosh, why didn't I look into that before? Because I'm curious about it. What was the motivation for writing the letter? Was it an apology? Was it?
I think it was his way of trying to get ahead of the situation, because he didn't think everything else was going to be fine. But this started years ago, but the NFL knew about it at the Pro Bowl, which was last season, because they had to move her. So it's going to be a whole big to-do because they knew, because they had to move out of the hotel because he was trying to kick a hotel door in at the Pro Bowl.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Well, now that's interesting. And the one headline I did see about it was just how differently he's treated with regards, or protected, I should say, with regards to domestic violence as opposed to the other players, whose names I cannot recall right now.
Ray Rice.
Yeah.
Hardy from the Cowboys.
Yes. And certainly there was a lot more attention brought, a lot more. In fact, there were a lot of people who said that Ray Rice, and I don't know what you're about to tell me, but I'm just saying, but that Ray Rice should not have been vilified the way that he was because she hit two and she hit first, and we don't know what happened before they got into the elevator, and so forth and so forth. In a similar case, who was it? Solange, or was it Beyonce?
Oh, yeah. No, it was Beyonce's sister.
Yes,
Solange. Yeah.
And kind of started hitting Jay-Z, and in that case, no, he probably did something to deserve it. And so it's just interesting how we have double standards and we have different opinions of.
Right. We make excuses for who we like and who we don't like. We don't.
Right. Well, so I don't know. It's just a very.
The video from Ray that was the worst thing. That was one of the worst things I ever saw. No matter.
That was awful.
And she said she did spit, and spitting is the worst thing you can do. But she still didn't deserve that.
What came behind it.
Yeah, she didn't deserve that.
No.
And it's not racial. If you look at the whole thing, Ray Rice was he was in the twilight of his career. Nobody really wanted to pick him up. Greg Hardy, it's a whole different story. I don't know why the Cowboys ever dealt with him because nobody else was going to deal with him.
Not racial at all. Well, this particular, maybe this comparison.
Yeah, I mean, when you compare what I mean, because even with Hardy, he had guns and stuff, so his was way worse. He had guns and the threatening letters. He paid her off, yada, yada, yada.
Wow.
Josh Brown, a punter. Punters can play until they're 40, so it's still about finances.
Political.
Had Ray Rice been a punter, he could have still been playing. But at a running back, when you're over 30, nobody really wants you anyway. So a lot of it had more to do with their physical ability to contribute to the NFL.
Oh gosh, because politics.
Yeah, it's about $1.
Sad
dollar bill.
Yes. Well, we're going to go into love letters.
Love notes with Dr. Pamela.
I meant love notes. So this is a letter that comes from it was signed concerned partner. I am in a 1-year relationship that has me a bit uneasy, but I'm not sure that I can qualify this as abuse. Every now and then my partner gets really angry and lashes out. Sometimes she throws things, other times she gets physical, but not enough to cause real harm. My concern is that when she gets this way, she seems way out of control, and I'm not sure what she's capable of doing. She's threatened to take me out if she ever catches me cheating, but that is said as a joke. Honestly, I don't know what she's capable of, and I'm starting to wonder if I am in a potentially dangerous situation. Her outbursts only happen when she drinks too much, and this is only maybe every couple of months. Any other time she's cool. Should I be concerned? Concerned partner.
I would say yes. I would say
yes.
Yes, because the alcohol does intensify things. So if she's got you to a point where you're afraid, yes, you should never be afraid of your partner in a relationship. So I would definitely say they need to be concerned.
Well, and the very fact that the letter is written indicates some level of fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Reaching out, they looking for that confirmation. Basically, is that I know she's crazy. I know I need to get away from her, but let me just see what somebody else says. It's like we all need that confirmation. Somebody else either be on our side or be against us. And in this case, they're looking for somebody to justify what they already know.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. What are your thoughts?
6 times she threatened you, and you asking, should you be? I don't know.
You say what now?
He's saying she does this 6 times a year at least. And you know what they say? If you ever want the truth out of somebody, make them mad or get them drunk.
Ooh. Wow, yeah.
So she's drunk and she's telling you, can the sex be that great? Move. If you got to have sex with her, do it somewhere in a hotel with public people around. Yeah, leave. Run.
Yeah, and that was my thought as well, is yes, this is definitely something to be concerned about.
Yeah.
This is a situation, I wrote flee. These are all red flags, and they only get worse over time. I mean,
Right.
It says 1 year in the relationship. You're only 1 year in, and already this stuff is starting to manifest itself. Sometimes you can be in a relationship for a number of years before things really, really, really escalate. But if this is already happening in 1 year, that's a concern.
Very much so.
What does it look like in 5 years? And some people might try to, rationalize it away and say, well, I will make sure she doesn't drink. I can help her reduce her drinking. And because if she only does it when she drinks, then let's eliminate the drinking. And a person like me, and I know this line of thinking because I'm a fixer. And so I'm somebody who's like, I see a problem. Okay, let's fix the problem. Let's move on, And it doesn't always work that way.
But she'll just drink when she's not around you.
Right.
So you only stop from drinking when you're around. But if she come home drunk, what do you do then? You can't take it back.
Can't be with her 24/7 to make sure she stays not being under the influence. So,
and who wants to do all of that monitoring and 1 year in, I can see y'all are married for 20 years and all of a sudden a drinking problem develops and you're attached and you're like, okay, I'm going to figure out, we're going to try to get through this together.
Right.
But even then, if abuse starts, you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to protect yourself. Emotional and so forth. Remember that abuse is always a choice. Believe it or not, a lot of times the person who is the victim of abuse believes that they can't help it, and abuse is a choice.
Yeah.
They choose to abuse their partner, and now in her case, she's drinking, and she knows what her drinking leads to, and she's not doing anything about it. Not doing anything about the problem that you have is a choice to abuse your partner.
Right.
And so remember that you also deserve to be respected. There's no excuse for abuse. Number 3, if you think your relationship is unhealthy, but you don't know if you should leave your partner, here are some things to keep in mind. Number 1, a person can only change if they want to. You can't force them to alter their behavior if they don't think that they're wrong.
Right.
Number 2, focus on your own needs. It's okay to be selfish when it comes to this. It's okay to be totally 100% selfish, and if you're accused of being selfish, yes, I'm being selfish.
Very.
It's what I need to do. So your health, your physical and your mental health is most important. Number 3, connect with your support systems. Abusers try to isolate their partner. And, if you're ever noticing things like, you're spending too much time with your sister, or, why you always gotta, be with them, or, you don't love me because you're always with them. Signs of jealousy but when it gets to the point of, I'm going to isolate you,
right.
You're not going out, I'm going to make you feel guilty every time you do something, that's an element of control. So connect with your support systems. Don't allow yourself to be isolated. And then think about breaking up. I say do more than think about breaking up. But I know for some people it's a process. But you deserve to feel safe and accepted in your relationship. So really start taking the steps needed to accept that this is probably not going to last and I need to get out of this. Any other words of advice or thoughts?
Run.
Think about your kids. When you show kids, and people always say, kids don't know, kids hear everything.
Yes, they do.
We make it okay because we think, kids are resilient. They'll hear stuff and they'll try not to say nothing for as long as they can. But if you're letting your kids run this environment, you're just as bad as the abuser because you're telling them it's okay.
Yep.
And that's one of the biggest issues I have a problem with. You're letting them think that it's okay because all the kids I interview, they know something's going on because they hear mommy screaming, they hear this, they hear that. They just stay in the bed and they don't sleep good.
No. Yeah.
Well,
the grades start going down. Yeah. They become, they don't want to be at home as much. You can't figure out why because they don't want to hear this all the time.
Right.
But you're telling them it's okay, and that's what they get used to.
Yeah.
And then the cycle continues.
And if nothing else, you could be the person to break the cycle in your family by protecting your own kids. If you don't have it in you yet to protect and love and cherish yourself, at least try to do it for your kids. If you don't have kids, there are loved ones and there are people in your life who are also impacted by the abuse, whether you think they know it or not. And then one last comment from Felicia Brookins on Facebook. She's saying, be concerned and heed the
a guy that everything that you mentioned, I'm just sitting here like, wow, yeah, that was him.
He experienced it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But a lot of times, again, the first thing is they don't recognize. And I had to tell him, my love, you were involved in domestic violence because some of those same things happened. The control of money, where they went, talking down to them and everything. And I'm just like, yep.
All of it.
All of that. So, yeah, I totally agree. They're spot on with it.
Yeah.
And like you said, the main thing is men don't recognize it.
Right.
So.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we're going to go to break, and then when we come back, we're going to look at some of the other signs of what domestic violence looks like. So stay with us, then we'll be right back on the Live Exchange.
Vince Lombardi once said that it's hard to be aggressive when you're confused. Some of us think that taking our lives to the next level, both personally and professionally, is a confusing and complicated process. Guess what? It's not, and I can prove it. My book, Truisms, will show you how living your life by rules that are so self-evident and obvious, you'll say, I knew that. This powerful yet short, detailed bestseller is on sale right now, under $10. Go to michaelmcfadden.com. That's michaelmcfadden.com, and let Truisms help you to the next.
Concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Primary election. Lack of diversity. Gas prices.
Michael Black's trending topics.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. And trending topics. Well, this one is our subway guy. I shouldn't say our, but the subway guy, Jared Fogle. For those of you who haven't heard, he was charged with pedophilia, convicted. Is serving time, right?
Yeah.
Well, his ex-wife is suing Subway, and they're charging that top executives knew of his pedophilia as early as 2004 and should have notified authorities. She didn't marry him until 2010. So she's saying that she never would have married the man and had children with the man had she known about his problem with pornography, child pornography. She divorced him after he pled guilty to charges of child pornography, and she alleges that in the suit that she and her children suffered emotional distress because Fogle's behavior did not become publicly known before she married him in 2010. So, hey, law enforcement, does she have a case? What do you think about that?
That's a civil issue, but I don't think it's Subway's responsibility to let her know unless she asks Subway, hey, do y'all know something about this guy that I should know? It's not your employer's responsibility, and in most cases it's illegal for them to tell them anything about you. Yeah. So I'm not sure how that, but that's purely civil. But yeah, I can't go to your employer and say, hey, does Pam have any vices I should know about if I'm thinking about marrying her? Because they can't give me that information.
True.
So I mean, I don't even get that.
Well, it sounds like it wasn't that she wanted them to tell her personally, but she said the problem is that they didn't go public with it until 2010. So not that you need to tell me, but y'all need to go public with this information in general. And had that happened, we wouldn't have suffered the distress.
Yeah, but if he said he was going to go to counseling and they didn't see any more of it and they thought everything was progressing, once again, you're making, unless it was a continual thing where they knew over and over and over and over again, because I haven't heard about Pedophilia Anonymous, so I don't know how you fix them. I don't know what it is you do. But, I mean, to me, it just sounds like she wants some more money. Because if you live with him and you didn't notice this, I'm going to point some of the blame at you. You were there. And the feds found most of the stuff in his house, which is where she lived. So she was, to me, it sounds like she was more of an enabler. As long as she was getting the check, she was good with that.
Right.
That's a huge assumption.
It is.
Well, I mean, because I would think Is she supposed to be snooping on his computer and, finding out what he's doing?
I'm sure I'm sure there were signs too, because a lot of men that are heavily into porn like that. What was your sex life like? Because a lot of times it desensitizes them to an actual female because they're sitting at a computer doing what they do, and it's like, oh, I don't need you. I watch it. Oh, look at that little 12-year-old. To say it's harsh, but I mean, they had kids, but what was it compared to the beginning when y'all met versus was it always sporadic and you just so happen to be blessed with the kids that y'all have, or did he not show any signs? But then again, he up at 2 o'clock in the morning. What you doing? Yeah. Because I know with mine, you still up. You better be playing a video game or something. Because it's 2 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing right now? Yeah. So it had to be some type of sign.
Well, and she may have suspected something wasn't right without being able to put a finger on exactly, no pun intended, what that was. So, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Now, I think it's a stretch too. Because you got to do your homework when you're dating somebody. And God forbid you find out something terrible like that about them.
How did he do this? Sometimes you get calls from the neighbors. When you get there, it's like I say, I mean, I've run across some famous people and because you get a call from an attorney first thing in the morning. It's like, hey, there's no need talking to me. My report is filed. Well, can you do this? I need to see it first. That's not the system.
Right.
But yeah, even in Georgia, Atlanta especially, where, we're the gay capital of the world now, it's still not accepted from guys who portray themselves to be, studs. Because
you feel about your body, how you, even not just how your body looks, but how your body feels, and then how you feel about those social interactions you have with people. Do you feel that you are competent in those social interactions, or that you are able to, hang in there and kind of fit in, or do you feel like an outcast? Does it bring in a lot of shame? So this idea of
actually took the time to never be anything but pregnant and on welfare. Yeah, all of that plays a role into the self-esteem and the self-worth and that brain and that psyche. So I would definitely say, yeah.
Well, there was a quote I came across earlier this week that said,